Hi, I'm Debbie from the Quilt Journal, and today I'm going to be talking about Deloa's Angle Angel. This is put out by Deloa's Quilt Shop. It is a quilting template. It's 1/4 of an inch thick, so it is made for your ruler foot, whether you're using it on a long arm or a sit-down machine, to sit in this groove here. I put it on this piece of brown paper just to try to make the markings on this a little bit more visible. The degree markings that are on this, they are very small, and when you have it on sometimes fabric, it is a little difficult to see. It starts with 0 degrees, which would be the center needle position of your ruler foot should line up. And then it goes all the way around to 120 degrees on each side. And then you have this straight edge ruler that you can use equally to stitch along a straight edge, but it's basically what guides your stitch line as you let this settle on whatever degree your angle is. So let's take it over to the quilt machine, and I think that some of this will make a whole lot more sense when you actually see the ruler in action. Okay, so here we are at our first design. I'm going to start off with the same kind of little starburst in a half square triangle, and I'm going to make it into a little spider web since today is the first day of fall. But anyway, my main goal here is just to give you a little overview of how to use the ruler and to start thinking about ways to use it. Okay, so I'm going to take the 0 line, which is this thick heavy line here that my needle lines up, and you can use this to equally stitch in the ditch along seam lines and things like that. And I'm going to put it right on what I call my start line or my base line, which would be my seam line or wherever you decide to draw in a line that your design or your motif starts. I'm going to put that on that line and snug it up against my ruler and just stitch it on up that line. If you need to scooch it a bit, you can. And then on this one, you need to keep your ruler really snugged up against there because you're going to need to travel back down that same line, which is really quite easy. It's a lot easier than, right now when I'm stitching through a camera, but if you were just stitching, if you keep it snug against there, it's no problem traveling. For the spider web, I'm going to go every other degree, so I'm going to go in 20-degree increments. So I've got my 20-degree mark lined up on my base line or my start line that I just stitched. Keep it snug up against my ruler, and then once again travel up to wherever it is that you want to stop at and travel back down. And then I'm going to skip again and I'm going to go to 40, or you could do 45 if you would like, and put that 45-degree line right on that dotted line that Deloa has running through this is your 45. I'm going to put that right on my start line. And don't get hung up on your ruler foot fitting all the way to the back or snugly into the back end of this notch here. I'm more concerned about lining up my degree marks on my line and going from there. Down. I'm going to turn this. So I'm going to go to 60. Maybe I'll bump to 70. I think that would give me the right. There we go. And then that's the same 15-degree difference. that I had coming into this one. And then I'm going to go back to 90, or the easiest way for me to do that is once again put that 0 on that line. And travel it on up. Bunching a little bit towards the edge here on the edge of my piece of fabric. Okay. I'm going to swing it around. Try to get it in front of the camera here. Unhooked from my foot. And just start your use. Tension's a little off. I just tightened it. I'm using a scrap of Warm and Natural, which is not, everybody has their own personal, that's not, I usually use Hobbs 80/20. And I think that initially, look a little off there as I'm talking, can't talk and quilt. Threw off my tension a little bit. Just tighten that in. Now if you were going to do a regular starburst, I did, as I said, every other, and in the center jump to 15 degrees, out to 45. You might want to do the every 10 degrees and just go from there. All right, let's go on to the next motif. Okay, and so the next design, I'm going to do 60-degree triangles coming down my faux 3-inch border here with no marking. And I've got, once again, my lines, the edge of what would be my border is 0. And so for this triangle, I'm going to do 60 degrees. So I have my 60-degree line on my start line or my base line. And I'm going to snug it up against my ruler. And just go and touch, stop, and then swing my ruler down in the opposite direction and line it up with the 60. And then swing again and get my tails out of the way there. Cut those. Line it up on the 60, running straight through here. Snug it up against my foot. Okay. And I'm lying to you if I say that you don't do that a lot. Swing your ruler around and have it go in the wrong direction initially. But it does kind of click after a little bit, and you do get used to it. But it just takes a little patience and practice. And before you know it, it does begin to make sense to you. When I first started, I just was like, oh, I don't know. But after playing with it a while, you can see on how some things it could make your job just a whole lot easier to do simple motifs and borders without really having to mark out a lot. All right, so that is the triangle, 60-degree triangle. And as you can see, you know, you can march down your border, and I did no marking whatsoever. All right, in the interest of time, I want to take you on to diamonds in a square. Okay, so quickly here, my next design is diamonds in a square. I've stitched around my square, and the only marking that I did put on this is a 45-degree angle going across my square. On my outline stitch, which is becoming 0, I've put this on the 10-degree mark. And so I've lined it up the 10-degree mark. It's snug against my ruler foot. And I'm going to stitch out until I hit the 45-degree angle. And I'm going to stop there. And then when I come back, it is always to 0 again. I put the 0 line at the end of the little loop up on the corner, and I stitch to that. And I'm probably going to have to slide down my ruler foot or the template a little bit, because I've got 1/4 of an inch to the end. But I find if I put that line right on the corner, I go right in and I sail right on the money there. So as you come up the other side, turn and see if I can see through this camera. Not the easiest thing in the world. I'm going to take the 10-degree line, and once again, I'm going to place that on my 0 line. Snug it up against my ruler, and I'm going to shift my fabric a little bit so that I'm not coming up against that knot. I still have a bit of a knot on this new ruler foot on George, and sometimes it can get in the way and kind of push my template away and make me run off. I also do not like, if I can avoid it, coming down this side of my ruler foot. It's doable, but it does bump a little bit more, and so I try to bring it down and remember to switch it to the inside and stitch on in. As I get close, just slide that out a little bit and stop at the corner. Okay, then I'm going to put my 20-degree line on my 0 line, or my base line, start line, whatever you want to call it. Press it up against the ruler and stitch up to the 45-degree. Put the 0 on the corner. You're always going back to the corner, to 0. Now there's a couple options on this little motif that you can do. Switch it around, put it on the 20. You can come from the bottom, and when you get to a given mark that you put across your block, you can cut straight across in 1/4 inch lines and come down and make a different kind of a fan motif almost. Oh, and I'm doing it again. Let me swing to putting that on the other side of my foot. And then my last pass. You can do this as many times as you would like to fill in your block. You could leave it here if you wanted. If it's a small block, and fill this, you know, these little channels you're creating with lines, pebbling, ribbon, candy, whatever suits you. Back on the 30. Let me get that rubbing at the other side of my foot. And then back to 0. Now, I'm going to show you two, at the end of this, I'm going to lay out some other designs in the interest of time, where I've taken this diamond in squares and I've taken a faux 4 patch, drew it out, and combined them for a really pretty design. And also another one was 45-degree triangles coming down a border and then backtracking. So let me just cut my threads and bring them up and I'll show you those. Okay, and so just to recap and to show a little extra here in the interest of time, I'm not going to stitch it out, but I want to show you how I took the diamonds in the square and combined them. I made my own little 4 patch, divide it. It could actually be 4 patches, or you could take a larger block and divide it into 4s and then draw your 45-degree angles. And I used my angle angel to go around. The only difference is on this one I started in the center and worked my way out. And I don't think the thread buildup is too bad. If it really bothered you, this is a 40 weight glide. You could bump that to a much lighter thread and you wouldn't notice it as much. The other thing is these are 45-degree little triangles, and in a 2-inch width strip, like a little faux sashing or something. And I did mark them in inch increments. This is what I was talking about last week in my blog, and I knew I had a problem with my needle being centered in my ruler foot. You go down at a 45-degree on one pass, travel up, and then come back down in the other. I found that the markings on this kept me honest and made sure that when I got to one end, I didn't start out with squares and end up with rectangles. And then these, you can dress them up if you'd like. If you're fine with it standing alone, that's great. If you want, you can fill them in with pebbles, lines. Obviously, I would use a matching thread, but quickly I was just playing around, and I think it equally makes another easy, cute motif that you can use your angle angel with. I hope you've enjoyed this. I've tried to throw a lot of information at you this time in one little video. Once again, this is Debbie at the Quilt Journal. Thanks for watching and have a great day.